My sister-in-law reported me to CPS after I left my kids with her during a work trip. Now she's shocked my husband and I cut ties and won't babysit hers. My female, 32, relationship with my sister-in-law, Anne, female, 35, and her kid, Kyle, male, 8, is a little weird and symbiotic. I guess we both stay in the same suburb and honestly get along really well at block parties, organize events together at the HOA, and generally are what you would consider close-knit. My boys, Matt and Devin, 4 and 6, both get along well with their cousin, and they form a cute little trio. However, my biggest problem with my sister-in-law is that she tends to be very judgmental of my parenting style and offers unwarranted advice. I know that she's been a parent for longer than I have, but it's not like my boys have any serious problems or creative fuss anywhere. She just has a different way of raising her kid. I tend to follow a more traditional approach, and sometimes ground my kids or take away toys if they do something really bad. And Anne has always had more of a laissez-faire approach. For example, if my kids fight over sharing a toy, I might confiscate it and sit down with them to talk about the importance of sharing. My sister-in-law, however, would probably buy an extra toy so they could both have one each. Because of this, sometimes I'm the villain in my kids' eyes, and my sister-in-law always takes it too far. However, we don't have a lot of other people we'd know in this area, so I just try and put up with her backseat parenting. Another thing she feels that I do wrong is my choice to work, because according to her, her brother makes more than enough money for us to live comfortably, so I'm just squandering time with my kids. Here's the thing. She is right about my husband making enough for us to be well off, but I'm one of the top voices in my industry right now, and I don't see why I need to give that up in order to raise my children. I think I have a good balance of quality time with my kids and work, and whenever there isn't a parent around, we keep a stellar nanny to pick up the slack. The reason I'm writing this post is because of one particular incident. Last month, I was given very last-minute confirmation for an event I had to attend in Miami and would be out of the house for around 2 weeks. My husband, at the same time, had planned a camping trip with his friends. It was the only time when all his buds and their schedules matched, and it would be unfair for him to cancel out just because I had an unplanned trip. Since my sister-in-law and I were close, I thought it would be okay to ask her to take care of Matt and Devin for a couple of weeks. I called her and asked if this would be cool. I had asked if our nanny would be able to do it, but to be honest, house sitting was a bit out of her job description, so she refused. My sister-in-law said that she wouldn't have a problem with it, so I told the kids they were going to be spending some time with their aunt and sent them over. Since we all stay in the same neighborhood, it was quite convenient. I went off on my work trip, and my husband went off with his boys. However, after I came back home, I had the shock of my life. I had told my sister-in-law that I'd be arriving on Tuesday, with my husband set to arrive a day after me. When I reached my driveway, though, I saw her standing outside my door with a sour-looking official. Before I even had time to ask what was going on, the man said, "Op, would you please come inside? I have a few questions." The questions turned out to be things like whether I fed my kids enough or whether I harmed them in any way. I was so shocked and angry, but I answered truthfully, immediately demanding an explanation. The worker was from CPS and was investigating a claim by my sister-in-law that we had been neglecting our kids. After I was interviewed, the worker spoke to my boys individually, and after he was satisfied, he gave an assessment. There was no chance of child neglect, and my sister-in-law had clearly overreacted. Honestly, he seemed pissed that his day had been wasted. After he left, I immediately turned on my sister-in-law and asked, "Just what the hell did you do while I was gone?" She responded, "I was only looking out for my nephews. When they were staying with me, they said that you never do the things I did for them, and when I pushed them on it, they said that you were a bad mom sometimes." I couldn't help but facepalm. I was 90% sure this was from Matt because I had recently had to take away one of his favorite preschool toys after he ended up swatting another kid with it. And why is my sister-in-law taking the testimony of a freaking 4-year-old? I told her how dumb that was, and she kept repeating that she was just looking out for the kids. I told her to freak after her own house and stop trying to run mine. After she walked off with a humph, I called my husband and told him what had happened. He was completely in the dark about all of this, and felt super pissed that his sister would choose to call CPS before contacting him. Did she think he was abusing his kids, too? I guess it hurt his sentiments, and he told me to keep an arm's length from Anne for the time being, and after he came back, we would settle on a game plan. When he got back home, both of us mutually decided that it would be best to stop interacting with my sister-in-law's family altogether and refuse to babysit her kid or engage with her at parties. I honestly think this is a pretty smart thing to do, but I feel bad about breaking up my kids and their cousin. We have put this into practice already, and my kids are already asking where Kyle is. My sister-in-law is being terrible, doing all of this, and refuses to admit that she went overboard, making it even tougher to make amends. What should we do, Reddit? Update 1. I read through a lot of your comments, and I do see How I may be tough for separating the kids from their cousin, but I still can't find a way to reconcile with my sister-in-law. I spoke to my husband, and he's open to having a mutual dialogue with his sister. Until we broached the topic, things were super icy between us. It was literally like meeting an enemy nation at the UN. However, my sister-in-law and her husband were open to meeting us, and we had a conversation at their house. To be honest, it did not go well. While my sister-in-law thinks that we aren't abusers, she still thinks it was okay for her to call CPS on us. My husband has an entirely different bone to pick with her regarding how she didn't call him at all, and how it signifies a lack of trust between them. That also didn't get resolved. We left the meeting with only the common agreement that our boys miss each other, and we should do something about that. So, at the very least, we've decided that we can have play dates where both parents are present. I haven't really gotten over the anger of having the CPS show up on my doorstep like I'm some kind of criminal, and it's hard to feel like my sister-in-law doesn't doubt my love for my kids. Letting the kids have play dates is like putting a band-aid on a bullet wound, so maybe we'll keep trying to reach common ground with Anne. Update 2. So what's happened now is that the extended family is also involved. Mother-in-law is on my sister-in-law's side and thinks that she was simply voicing her concerns, while father-in-law thinks that she overstepped her boundaries. My parents are obviously on my side, and my husband is also very angry at my sister-in-law. It's slowly blown up, and I really do want to resolve things. Despite her flaws, my sister-in-law and I did get along quite well, and I'm starting to miss that friendship that we had. I do think that I would be a pushover if I simply claimed that it was okay for her to call CPS like she did, though. So I'm hoping that we could have a better way to solve things. I was thinking of calling father-in-law and asking him to speak to his daughter, because right now everything is just like people gossiping amongst themselves. My sister-in-law called mother-in-law too about me. My husband heard about it from my father-in-law, and then I told my parents. It's all very childish. I think if my sister-in-law knows that her own dad thinks she was being a bit crazy, she might at least find it in herself to apologize, which is honestly all I want. The play dates we set up between our kids are kind of working, but sometimes they pick up on the negative energy between their respective parents, and it makes the boys kind of sad. I know they're all really young, but they're picking up on this fight a lot more than I thought. Update 3. I was able to speak to my father-in-law directly about the whole issue and explain why it may be good for my sister-in-law to hear him call her out, and he agreed. We decided that it'd be best if he spoke to her on his own so that the bad blood between Anne, me, and my husband won't be present. It worked wonders. I'm not sure what he said exactly, but my sister-in-law showed up on my doorstep and said, "Hey, Opie, I talked with my dad recently, and he told me how you feel. I just want you to know that I think you're an amazing mom, and I was just concerned for your kids. Do you think we could put all this behind us? I promise not to interfere in the way you're raising your boys anymore." I was so pleased to hear this, and I also told her, "I appreciate you looking out for Matt and Devin, and while I do agree that what you did was out of line, it's clear that you love them. I don't hold what you did against you. It just took a bit of communication, guys, and the family has mended its wounds. At the end of the day, our kids are our top priority, and they've been happier ever since we made up. NTA." Calling the CPS is a serious thing to do, and unless your sister-in-law was dead sure that her nephews were in danger, she was basically making assumptions to make you feel self-conscious about your parenting. Esh. Both of y'all are acting like kids and harming the relationship between the actual kids. Obviously, sister-in-law is a wacko, but your kids are missing out on time with their cousin after all of this. Edit, I read the updates, and it seems like things worked out fine. I'll change it to NTA because I still think your sister-in-law was a bit out of bounds. Next story. Female 23, fight with my sister female 15 on a regular basis. She is my only sibling and we do not like each other at all. I had to look after her a lot when we were younger because both my parents worked and have been butting heads since. She has been pretty rebellious since she was young and has always had a nasty attitude towards me, and so I haven't always been the nicest to her. She absolutely never listens to me and always says I'm not her second mom and that she doesn't have 3 parents, which I agree with, except that she uses it when it's not necessary. Like when I'm trying to tell her to do things so that my dad doesn't lose his temper when he gets home. I fight with her the most, though, over cleaning the kitchen and her taking my stuff. She has started telling me what I will and will not do, which is unacceptable in my opinion. I'm not allowed into her bedroom even if she goes into mine, and I have to clean the kitchen even if my mother has asked her to do so. I have begged and pleaded that she stops taking my stuff, but she says that if I don't use it, then she can. Whether it's my makeup or clothing or even my art equipment, she takes it and fights if I try and take it back. She raises her voice so quickly without me even doing anything just to get me in trouble. I found my expensive art equipment in her bedroom a while back and brought it up in a civil way. but I was told to just leave it because it doesn't matter. I feel so frustrated. I have started trying to ask my mom for help with these fights, and she will try and stop my sister sometimes, but most of the time I just get fought with, and it hurts so much as if nothing I do matters. I overheard some insults on Instagram the other day, and my sister and I were fighting that same evening in the kitchen about her not doing what my mom asked her to do. She escalated the situation by deciding to fat shame me, something she does often. I am not what I would consider fat, but I am insecure about my weight, and she is super skinny. I decided that I had had enough and decided to use an insult I had come across. I said to her, "You know what, sister's name? There is a tree somewhere out there in the world. This tree's sole purpose in its life is to replace the oxygen that you waste. Go find your tree and apologize to it." It ended the argument really quickly, and I won't lie, I was pretty happy with myself. My parents said that what I said made me an a-hole. It didn't seem to bother her much because she's unfazed by everything, but I feel like it might have been crossing a line, so, Atia? Edit, I live in South Africa. Most people my age still live at home. Also found out that she ate my giant Reese's cups that I got for my birthday, which are kind of expensive here, and lied about it. This just happened. Beyond it. NTA. Teenagers are selfish by nature. Not all of them express it badly, but they do have a hard time empathizing with others. This is just part of their natural development. You, as a 23-year-old, should be mostly out of that phase. This is why common sense rules like, "don't go into my bedroom," are hard for her to understand but make perfect sense to you. She feels if it's justifiable in her head, she should be able to do it. Your insult was extremely mild. Don't worry about it. I would also recommend not putting your mom in the middle. It's very hard on parents to mediate between teenagers even if you're out of that range now. It also sounds like your parents take her side many times just because she's younger or louder. That happens. A quiet discussion with your parents along the lines of, "Sister is taking my things, I will go get them back, but I want you to be aware she's going to yell. I'm not doing anything to her. It's just her trying to get me in trouble." I also recommend using natural consequences. If you know your dad is going to be mad when he comes home if she doesn't clean up, don't say a word. Natural consequence. NTA. You are 23. It's time to start looking into moving out. I know times are tough right now, but you live in a toxic household. Your sister is like that because her parents didn't raise her. You did. You've done absolutely nothing wrong and, in fact, have done more than you should have growing up. That doesn't change the fact that you and your sister have suffered developmental and emotional problems from being raised that way. If you can't move out, purchase a lock for your door and a safe to keep items you don't want her getting into. Distance yourself from her and your mom as much as you can and only clean up after yourself, not her. Don't engage with your sister. Even if she baits you into fighting, just say no. Next story, my parents and I haven't spoken since I was 20. My husband's mother passed away and his father left when he was a kid. Clearly, our children don't really have grandparents. It's never really been an issue for us anyway. Husband has a friend I'm calling May. She's nice enough, but I'm not a huge fan of hers. She knows our kids don't have grandparents and always mentions how sad that is. She believes every child needs to have grandparents around. The amount of time she suggested I reconcile with my parents is ridiculous. Well, she invited us to dinner the other night. When we got there, I noticed we were the only ones, despite her saying more people were going to be there. I asked her about it, and she told us to just hold on. Well, the doorbell rang, and guess who it was? My husband's father. Yup, May and my husband are childhood friends, and his father never left where they're from, so he wouldn't be difficult to find at all. But the situation was insane. The second my husband made eye contact with his father, he walked out. His dad followed him. I was planning on going to them, but May stopped me to ask why my husband left like that. I asked her if she was being serious, and she said, "Well, yeah. I mean, I literally got his dad. Do you know how many times he used to tell me how bad he wanted his dad? Besides the point, but he should be happy. Oh, and now the kids can have a grandpa. You're welcome, by the way. Grandparent love is just so special." I saw red. I don't know if my anger was warranted, but I just couldn't comprehend her thought process. I said, "I guess it's my fault for not realizing how stupid you actually are, but you don't get to make these decisions for us, for my husband especially. I hope you enjoyed today because you're never going to see him again." I may have called her an idiot after, too. She teared up and started going on about how she only wanted to fulfill my husband's childhood dreams and give our kids a grandparent. But I just gathered the kids and left. My husband was waiting in the car. His dad left, and all he said was, "Better you than me." When I told him, she keeps texting me, though, saying that she's sorry if she offended me. But she was just trying to do something kind for her friend and his kids. She said that I didn't have to insult her, and that I don't get to speak for my husband. Now I'm sort of starting to wonder if I'm the a-hole. She's insisting that she had good intentions, and also insists that I'm depriving the kids by restricting husband's father and should try and encourage him. She also says I went too far, which maybe I did. Plus, it's true that I don't necessarily get to decide who my husband remains friends with, so maybe I am the a-hole. NTA. The fact that your husband was waiting in the car and his sperm donor was gone shows you said exactly what needed to be said. Recommend completely cutting May out of the picture. If she tries it once, she might try again at a time and place where the kids are present. NTA. You will win on all accounts, even the part about your husband not being friends with her because you are his wife and he vows to put you first. Stay far away from this woman. She is not a friend.